Hey everyone, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet rope. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined by the one, the only Rob Schulte.
Hello. I was on the list. I made it. I'm behind the rope.
Well, I should say from the Vanderpump Robs podcast, which everyone should go and listen to. I was on your podcast, or I'm coming up. Who knows when these episodes will come out, but within a few weeks of each other. Everyone needs to check that out. We had a great discussion about Vanderpump, Bravo,
It was,
MTV.
oh man. And the one show we didn't talk about, Pimp My Ride.
I forgot about Pimp My Ride. We went deep on your podcast. So everyone needs to check that out. Listen, anytime someone wants to talk about it, this audience knows. I mean, Laguna Beach, the hills, those are the classics, man.
They really are. And they can listen to the episode, but it's where it got us to where we are today.
How did you start, just out of curiosity, in your podcast? Because your podcast, it's all encompassing like mine, but it does, I mean, by the name of it, we could give it away for the people. If not, you're not listening to this, it's another Bravo podcast. How did you decide to focus on Vanderpump Rules and call this Vanderpump Robs?
Well, I have been working as a podcast producer for many, 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 many years, and I didn't usually host my own shows. My first big show that I worked on was a Star Trek podcast that I produced for a group called The Greatest Generation. And we went on tour and we were having fun. And I had started picking up Vanderpump Rules as things to watch, in between tour stops, all that sort of stuff. I got hooked. I had worked in the bar industry when I was in college. So I think I started around the time Tom was being built and then quickly went back and binged everything. And I was having drinks on tour with one of the hosts who I found out also watched Vanderpump Rules. And I realized, like, oh, it's not always the people you think who are watching these shows. And my last name is Schulte. And these guys would always give me the nickname of Robs. And he was like, if you have a podcast, you should call it Vanderpump Robs. And I was like, that's too good a name to not start the podcast. And I was in like such binge mode that I was like, I started as a like rewatch podcast from the beginning, but I quickly was like, I gotta just start doing new episodes and fun episodes and just bringing it all encompassing Bravo and fun fandom.
Well, we talked about this a little on your podcast, but like, what do you think is, because it's like I said on your show, like when Real Housewives of Atlanta was off the air for this 9, 10 month hiatus, like they were trying to figure it out. They didn't know what to do. And eventually, but we heard about them trying, you felt the angst that they were trying to figure it out. Same thing with recasting New York. Now we have Vanderpump. It's not on the air. I don't feel there's angst. I don't feel like they're trying to figure anything out. I feel like everyone's just living life over here.
I think teams that make the shows were given the let's take a breather. There are certain people, I'm sure the Alex Baskins of the world are like plotting, planning, trying to do their thing. But I think a lot of people are like, let's take a breather. We'll come back to this in a moment. And everyone's like, yes, thank God. And are just don't want to think about Vanderpump Rules. I personally feel like, it's been a few months and you usually like if it's like Summer House, it'll be a few months and then you start gearing up and hearing about the new season. We're already hearing about The Valley starting to film again its second season and it just ended as well. So I think with the Vanderpump Rules is they picked up season 11 so fast and did such a like ramshackle job of that season that they don't know what they're going to do because what they have been doing didn't work. All of the normal like pulling a rabbit out of the hat, those tricks didn't work this season. And I think that there's a part of me that believes there's going to be a season 12 and it's going to be really lackluster and people aren't going to come back and we're going to get like a smidgen of the folks we know just to like tie up loose ends. And then there's another part of me where they're going to scrap it all and say, hey, let's do Vanderpump Rules the next generation. Like that photo that everyone was talking about.
Yeah, because I mean, look, I don't think anyone is going to raise their hand and say, well, let's take Ariana out of this for a minute. I mean, is anyone
Yeah.
else going to say, I'm going to sit this one out? Because I don't see that.
I don't think so. That would be the only person would be Ariana. And I feel like if I were to like want to win a lot of money on a bet that I don't feel strong about, I would say maybe a Schwartz and Katie could potentially say, you know what, I'm done. But all these people
Really?
love getting those big money bags for not having to do anything really, except be stressed for 3 to 4 months straight.
Yeah, I mean, Schwartz is doing the second part, a second, let's hit LA with Jax tour. And they're now doing they're on the city winery tour. They're
Yeah.
coming to New York. They're
Yep.
so, you're not, look, I think that puts money in your pocket, but you're
Yeah.
not doing that when you're busy. You're doing that to make money.
Yeah.
I venture to say everyone's coming back if they're invited, except maybe Ariana, which I'm not even so sure. Do you think Ariana would come back?
I right now, this moment, I would say no. But Love Island's gonna end. Maybe the SoFi ads will dry up as well. But depending on what comes next, I think presents and I think that's mainly why we haven't heard much about Vanderpump, because they need Ariana's decision to make a plan. And if she's in Fiji, she's not talking to people about this. My feeling. But speaking of that bar crawl, I talked about this on my podcast, but did you know Jax DM'd me to potentially host the first bar crawl?
I did
And I got it.
not.
I have to tell you this story. It's so funny.
Please do tell me the story. So, like, for everyone who doesn't know, like, there was this bar crawl in LA. Not in LA now. I'm in the New York area, but right, like, it was him and Schwartz, and I think it was like VIP tickets were like 300, 400, something like that. And
Yeah.
you went to like Tom, and you went literally exactly what you think, which I don't know why no one has thought of this before. A shocker, you end at Jax's bar, but there are surprise guests, like we had Max and maybe, Brittany and Dodie,
Yeah.
but so for everyone, I'm sure it must have sold well because they're doing a second one, but tell me how this all played out.
So here's the other funny part about it. Like, that crawl happened during like the valley, right? Like, or shortly after. Like, all of these people that they want to see, Jack Schwartz, like, pick a day and you can show up to one of these bars and you'll be able to see them, right? Anyway, it's like a week before, 2 weeks before the crawl was going to happen. And I was at Jax's Studio City watching the finale or one of the episodes of the Valley. Anyway, and I tagged Jax's Studio City. I said, we're doing this thing here. And I get a DM that's like, hey, we're looking for someone to potentially host the bar crawl, asking if I'd be interested. And I was like, well, I would definitely be interested, or I know someone who would. That sounds fun. Here's my contact information. Let me know what's up. And immediately it followed with,